What does it take to break a monster? Is it a silver bullet, a wooden stake, a forgotten prayer? Or is it something quieter? The sight of a girl with fire in her eyes and nothing in her pockets. A girl who stands up when the entire world tells her to kneel. For Damien Blackwood, the architect of his city's ruin, the answer arrives on a Tuesday. It arrives in a storm of champagne and quiet desperation. Damien stands in the shadows of the grand, majestic ballroom, a ghost in a bespoke suit worth more than the building's foundation. His eyes, the color of a stormy sea, are not on the glittering chandeliers or the gossiping peacocks of the city's elite. They are on his fiancée, Isabella Sterling. She is a masterpiece of calculated beauty, her laughter a tinkling weapon, her dress a shimmering cage of diamonds. She thinks he is here with her. She is wrong. Damien is never with anyone. He is an observer, a predator watching his territory. He watches her lean close to his untouched glass of whiskey, her movements a liquid grace born of privilege and venom. Her clutch purse is open just a fraction. He sees the glint of a small vial. He sees the subtle shake of powder into the amber liquid. A sedative, most likely. Something to make him pliable, to get him to her bed, to secure the Blackwood name with a carefully orchestrated scandal should he continue to delay their wedding. It is amateur. It is insulting. He feels nothing. Not anger, not betrayal. Just a profound, chilling emptiness. He lifts his phone, the screen a cold blue light in the darkness of his alcove. A single text message flies across the encrypted network to the man standing like a granite statue by the ballroom doors. The text to Marcus is simple. Liquidate her. One text to erase a person. To dismantle the Sterling Empire. To turn their stocks to ash and their social standing to dust. He watches Isabella turn back, a triumphant little smile on her lips. She thinks she has won. Damien allows a flicker of a smile to touch his own lips, a smile that does not reach his frozen eyes. Her ruin is already in motion. It will be complete before the sun rises. This is his world, a world of silent commands and brutal consequences. He is the king of this gilded cage, and every person in it is either an asset or a threat. Isabella has just reclassified herself. Across the city, in a cramped apartment that smells of stale toast and bleach, Alara Vance is counting pennies. The stack of overdue bills on her small kitchen table is a mountain of despair. Rent, electricity, the pharmacy, and the largest one, the one that makes her stomach clench into a tight, painful knot, the invoice for her brother's experimental treatment. Leo, her sunshine, her reason for breathing is fading. His illness is a thief, stealing the light from his eyes, the strength from his limbs. This treatment is their last hope, a fragile, terrifyingly expensive hope. Alara wears a threadbare uniform, the fabric worn thin over the heart. Her shoes have holes in the soles, a secret she hides with every careful step. She works 2 jobs. By day, a cleaner in a sterile office building, invisible to the executives who pass her by. By night, a waitress at whatever high-end event will hire her agency. Tonight, it is the Grand Majestic's annual charity gala. A place of such obscene wealth, it feels like another planet. She smooths her apron, takes a deep breath that does nothing to calm the frantic hummingbird in her chest, and prepares to step into the lion's den. She needs the tips. She needs every single dollar. For Leo. Everything is for Leo. The ballroom is a blur of noise and light. Alara moves through it like a ghost, her tray a shield. She offers champagne with a practiced, hollow smile, her mind a frantic calculator of potential earnings. She is invisible here, a servant, a backdrop for the real people. That is how she survives. By being nothing. Then she sees it. An elderly waiter, his hands trembling with age and exhaustion, stumbles near a table. A single drop of red wine splashes onto the pristine white silk of a woman's gown. The woman is Isabella Sterling. The air freezes. The chatter around the table dies. Isabella looks down at the single red drop, as if it were a mortal wound. Her face, so perfectly beautiful a moment before, twists into a mask of pure, undiluted cruelty. "You imbecile," she hisses, her voice low but carrying like a whip crack. The old man flinches, his face ashen. "My apologies, miss. It was an accident. I am so sorry." "Sorry?" Isabella laughs, a sound like breaking glass. "This gown is couture. It costs more than your miserable life. Do you know what you have done?" She stands, a furious goddess of privilege. "You are fired. Get out of my sight. You should be put in a home where you can't ruin things for your betters." The old man's eyes fill with tears of humiliation. He shrinks into himself, his entire body trembling. And something inside Alara snaps. The fear, the desperation, the crushing weight of her own invisibility. It all burns away, replaced by a white-hot flame of pure, unadulterated rage. She puts her tray down on a nearby table with a soft click. She walks forward. From his shadowed corner, Damien watches the scene unfold with cold detachment. Another casual act of cruelty in a world built on it. It is nothing. Then he sees the other girl, the waitress. He sees her put her tray down. He sees her walk toward Isabella. What is she doing? An insect flying toward a spiderweb. Alara stops beside the trembling waiter, placing a gentle hand on his arm. She looks directly at Isabella Sterling. Her voice is quiet, but it rings with the clarity of a bell. "It was an accident." He apologized. "That should be enough." Isabella turns, her eyes widening in disbelief. "Who do you think you are?" "I am someone who knows that a person's dignity is worth more than a piece of cloth," Alara says, her chin held high. A gasp ripples through the onlookers. Damien's world, for the first time in a decade, tilts on its axis. He has seen people defy him. He has seen soldiers and gangsters and politicians try to stand against him. They always do it for power, for greed. He has never seen this. Defiance for the sake of defiance, courage for the sake of another's dignity. This girl, this nobody, with her worn-out shoes and her fierce, unbroken gaze. She is magnificent. Isabella scoffs, recovering her composure. "And what are you? A fellow servant? A roach scurrying to defend another roach?" She raises a hand, intending to strike Alara across the face. The hand never lands. A shadow detaches itself from the wall. Damien is there. He moves with a liquid silence that is more terrifying than any shout. His hand closes around Isabella's wrist, his grip like steel. His voice is a frozen whisper, a sliver of ice that cuts through the sudden silence of the ballroom. "You will not touch her." Isabella stares at him, her face a comical mask of shock and pain. "Damien, this servant insulted me." Damien's eyes are not on Isabella. They are on Alara. He sees the fear in her eyes, warring with the fire. He sees the faint tremor in her hands. He sees the single, defiant tear that traces a path through the faint dust of exhaustion on her cheek. He reaches out with his free hand, his thumb brushing away the tear with a gentleness that feels alien even to himself. The touch is electric, a jolt of impossible warmth in his frozen world. He looks back at Isabella, his expression utterly barren. "Our arrangement is terminated," he says, the words flat and final. "The car waiting for you has been cancelled. The access to my accounts has been revoked. The contracts supporting your father's company are, as of this moment, void." He releases her wrist. "You are no longer my concern." Isabella stumbles back, her face draining of all colour. She understands. She understands the totality of her ruin. It is not just a breakup. It is an erasure. Damien turns his full attention to Elara. The rest of the world ceases to exist. "Are you all right?" he asks, his voice still low. But the ice has thawed into something else. Something protective. Possessive. Elara can only nod, her throat too tight to speak. She is staring into the eyes of a predator, a king, a man who just dismantled a woman's life with a few quiet words. And he is looking at her as if she is the only thing in the room. He shrugs off his suit jacket, the fabric a whisper of impossible expense. He drapes it over her shoulders. It smells of night air, of power, of something clean and dangerous. "You are coming with me," he states. It is not a request. It is a command cloaked in the guise of rescue. Marcus, the mountain of a man, appears at his side, as if summoned from the very shadows. "See that he gets home safely," Damien says, nodding toward the old waiter, "with a severance that will ensure he never has to work again." He looks at Elara and find out everything about her. Without waiting for a reply, he places a hand on the small of Elara's back, a brand of heat through the thin fabric of her uniform and the heavy weight of his jacket. He guides her away from the stunned onlookers, away from the wreckage of Isabella's life, and out into the cold night air. Elara moves as if in a dream, a terrifying, bewildering dream. One moment, she was an invisible waitress. The next, she is being escorted from a gala by the most powerful man in the city, wearing his coat like a stolen treasure. She does not know if she has been saved or captured. Perhaps they are the same thing. The car is not a car. It is a vault, a black, silent beast of polished steel and tinted glass that glides to the curb. Marcus holds the door open. The interior is a cavern of black leather and cool, conditioned air. Damien guides her inside, his touch never leaving her. He slides in beside her, the space suddenly shrinking, charged with his presence. The door closes with a heavy, final thud. The city lights blur into streaks of neon as the car pulls away from the curb, leaving the Grand Majestic and her old life behind. Silence stretches between them, thick and heavy. Elara clutches the lapels of his jacket. It is a shield, an anchor in the storm of her confusion. "Where are you taking me?" she finally whispers, her voice trembling. "Somewhere safe," Damien replies, his gaze fixed on her face. He is studying her, memorizing the lines of her jaw, the fearful courage in her wide, honest eyes. "I do not need to be safe," she says, finding a sliver of her earlier defiance. "I need to go home. My brother." "Leo," Damien says softly. Elara freezes. "How do you know his name?" "I know you work 2 jobs. I know you live in apartment 4B on Elm Street. I know you owe $212,000 for a medical trial that has a 17% chance of success." The words hit her like stones. Her entire life, her most private fears, laid bare in his calm, measured voice. "Who are you?" she breathes, pulling back against the leather seat. "I am the man who is going to solve your problems," he says. "For a price." Of course. There is always a price. Men like him do not perform acts of charity. "I have no money," she says, the words tasting like ash. "I have enough money to buy this city," he says, a dismissive wave of his hand. "I do not want your money." "Then what do you want?" The car glides into a subterranean garage, the gate sealing behind them like the door to a tomb. Damien turns to face her fully. The dim light of the garage carves his face into harsh angles and deep shadows. "I have a sister," he begins, his voice losing its hard edge, replaced by a deep, ancient ache. Her name is Lily. Years ago, our parents were murdered in front of us. She has not spoken a word since. This is a history he has never shared, a piece of his soul he keeps locked away even from himself. She lives in a world of silence, surrounded by nurses and doctors who see her as a patient, a problem to be managed. They are cold, clinical. They have no heart. He leans closer, his stormy eyes boring into hers. Tonight, I saw you. I saw you stand up for a stranger. I saw you risk everything for someone else's dignity. I saw your heart. He pauses, the confession hanging in the air between them. I want you to be her companion, he says. I want you to show her the kindness this world has denied her. I want you to be her friend. Elara stares at him, her mind reeling. This is not what she expected. And in return, she asked, her voice barely a whisper. In return, Damien says, his voice turning back to steel, I will pay for your brother's treatment, all of it. I will move him to the best private facility in the country. I will fly in specialists from around the world. I will give him a 99% chance of survival, not 17. He lays it all out, a mountain of gold, a lifetime of hope. And your debt will be erased. You will live in my home. You will want for nothing. It is a fairy tale. It is a devil's bargain. What is the catch? She asks, because she is not a fool. The catch, Damien says, his gaze intense, is that you will belong to me. You will live in my world by my rules. You will not leave without my permission. You will cut ties with your old life. You will be mine. Total loss of freedom. Absolute possession. He is offering her a gilded cage. But inside that cage, her brother lives. Outside of it, he dies. Is it even a choice? Tears well in her eyes. Tears of terror, of relief, of helpless rage at the injustice of it all. Yes, she whispers, the word a surrender and a prayer. Okay, yes. A flicker of something unreadable crosses Damien's face. Triumph. Relief. He does not know himself. Marcus will arrange everything for your brother, he says, his voice all business once more. The transfer will happen tonight. You will not see him for a while. It is better this way. Cleaner. He opens the car door and steps out, then holds a hand out to her. Elara looks at his hand. It is a strong hand, a killer's hand, a saviour's hand. She places her small, trembling hand in his. His fingers close around hers, and he pulls her from the car and into his world. The elevator ascends in silence, a rocket climbing to another stratosphere. The doors open, not into a hallway, but directly into the penthouse itself. Elara gasps. It is not a home. It is a statement, a vast, two-story expanse of glass and steel and marble, overlooking the entire glittering city. The lights of the metropolis are a carpet at their feet. The furniture is sparse, modern, and brutally expensive. It is a place of immense wealth and zero warmth. A museum. A mausoleum. This is your new home, Damien says, releasing her hand. The loss of contact leaves her skin cold. He gestures to a sweeping staircase. Lily's rooms are on the second floor, along with yours. A nurse is with her now. You will meet her in the morning. He walks to the wall of windows, his back to her, a dark silhouette against the sea of light. My rules are simple, he says, his voice echoing in the cavernous space. You will not speak of my business. You will not enter my office, and you will devote yourself to my sister. He turns. Do you understand? Yes, Elara says, her voice small in the vast room. Good. An older woman in a severe grey dress appears. This is Maria. She is the head of my household staff. She will show you to your room. Maria gives a stiff, formal nod, her eyes assessing Elara with a practiced neutrality that is somehow more unnerving than open hostility. Damien looks at Elara one last time. Get some rest. Your new life begins tomorrow. He turns and walks toward a dark corridor, disappearing into the shadows of his own home. Elara is left alone with the silent housekeeper and the dizzying, terrifying view. Her room is larger than her entire apartment. It has a bed that looks like a cloud, a bathroom of gleaming marble, and a closet filled with clothes in her size. Dresses, shoes, sweaters, all new, all impossibly luxurious. She touches the sleeve of a cashmere sweater, the fabric softer than anything she has ever felt. It feels like a costume, a uniform for a role she does not know how to play. She ignores it all, stripping off her waitress uniform and the heavy suit jacket. She folds the jacket carefully, placing it on a chair. She showers in the massive glass-walled shower, the hot water a blessed relief. She scrubs at her skin, trying to wash away the grime of her old life, the fear of the new one. She finds a simple set of cotton pajamas in a drawer and puts them on. She crawls into the enormous bed. But sleep does not come. She is a prisoner in a palace. But Leo is safe. She repeats it to herself, a mantra against the fear. Leo is safe. Leo will be healed. And for that, she will endure anything. The next morning, Elara meets Lily. Maria escorts her to a suite of rooms painted in soft pastels. Sunlight streams through the windows, but the air is sterile, quiet. A young girl sits on the floor, surrounded by blocks. She has Damien's stormy eyes and hair as black as a raven's wing. She is beautiful, and she is utterly, heartbreakingly still. A nurse with a pinched face sits in a chair, watching her with bored indifference. This is Elara, Maria announces. She will be Miss Lily's new companion. The nurse looks Elara up and down with disdain. Lily doesn't look up at all. Her schedule is on the table, the nurse says curtly. Medication at 10, lunch at 12. Do not deviate. Elara ignores her. She crouches down on the floor, a careful distance from the silent girl. Hello, Lily, she says softly. My name is Elara. Those are beautiful blocks. There is no response. Lily continues to stare at the block in her hand, as if it contains the secrets of the universe. Elara does not push. She simply sits there, on the floor, in silence. She does not try to play. She does not ask questions. She just shares the silence with the girl. Hours pass. The nurse leaves, replaced by another. Lunch is served. Lily eats a few bites mechanically. Elara remains. In the late afternoon, Lily picks up a red block. She holds it for a long time. Then, without looking at Elara, she slides it across the floor until it touches Elara's knee. It is a test, an offering, a question. Elara's heart clenches. She picks up the block. Thank you, she whispers. She does not slide it back. She simply holds it. From the doorway of his office, connected to the main room by a one-way mirror, Damien watches. He has watched the parade of expensive specialists and child psychologists try to engage with Lily. They came with toys and tests and theories. They all failed. This girl, Elara, does nothing. She just sits. She just is. And for the first time in 7 years, Lily has reached out. A strange, unfamiliar emotion stirs in Damien's chest. It feels dangerously like hope. Days turn into a week. The routine is always the same. Elara spends her days with Lily. She reads to her, not caring if the girl is listening. She talks to her about her own brother, about the color of the sky, about silly, simple things. She never demands a response. Slowly, a fragile bridge is built across Lily's chasm of silence. Lily starts sitting closer to Elara. She allows Elara to brush her hair. One afternoon, She falls asleep with her head in Alara's lap. Alara looks down at the sleeping child, a fierce wave of protectiveness washing over her. Damien watches it all. He sees Alara not as a caretaker, but as a guardian. He sees the genuine warmth she gives his sister, a warmth he is incapable of providing. He finds himself making excuses to leave his office, to walk through the living area. He sees her one evening, standing by the great window, looking out at the city. She is wearing one of the simple dresses from the closet, but she has not put on the expensive shoes. She is barefoot. "The city looks different from up here," she says, not turning as if she sensed his presence. "It is just a collection of lights," he says, his voice rough. "No," she says softly. "Down there, each light is a story. A family having dinner, family. A student studying for a test. A boy like my brother, hoping he gets to see the sunrise." She sees people. He sees assets and liabilities. He stands beside her, close enough to feel the warmth radiating from her skin. He smells the simple, clean scent of her hair. "Your brother's doctors are optimistic," he says, the words feeling inadequate. She turns to him, her eyes shining with unshed tears. "Thank you," she says, and the gratitude is so pure, so absolute. It feels like a physical blow. "Whatever else you are, whatever else you do, thank you for that." He wants to touch her. He wants to pull her into his arms and feel her heart beat against his. The impulse is so strong, so foreign. He takes a step back. "Your duty is to my sister," he says, his voice cold again, a shield against the unfamiliar emotion. "Do not forget it." He turns and walks away, leaving her alone with the city lights, his heart hammering against his ribs like a trapped bird. He is the architect of ruin. He does not feel. He does not hope. But this girl, this unbreakable dove, is dismantling him brick by brick. The peace is a fragile illusion, a lie told in a silent penthouse high above a city at war. Damien's world is built on a precarious balance of power, and his public disposal of Isabella Sterling, along with the subsequent financial destruction of her family, has sent tremors through the underworld. Rivals see weakness, an obsession with a common girl, a distraction. They do not understand that Alara is not his weakness. She is becoming his reason. The attack comes without warning. It is a quiet Tuesday evening. Rain streaks down the floor-to-ceiling windows, turning the city lights into a watercolor blur. Alara is on the floor with Lily, building a lopsided tower of blocks. For the first time, Lily had smiled, a tiny, fleeting quirk of her lips, but it was there. Damien is in his office, reviewing security reports. The traitor, Julian, his own cousin, had fed him false information, assuring him a rival faction was quiescent. A lie. A fatal lie. The first sign of trouble is a flicker of the light. Then, a muffled explosion from the lower levels of the building. The penthouse's security system blares to life, red lights flashing, steel shutters slamming down over the windows, plunging the vast room into an eerie, crimson-lit darkness. Damien is on his feet in an instant, the cold mask of the king snapping back into place. He hits a button on his desk. "Marcus? Status?" "They're inside." Marcus's voice crackles over the intercom, strained, punctuated by the sound of gunfire. They bypass the lobby. They're coming up the service elevators. It's the Vargos. The Vargo family. Scum. Vultures he had nearly eradicated a year ago. Someone let them in. Someone gave them his codes. Julian. The realization hits him with the force of a physical blow. "Hold them!" Damien commands, his voice pure ice. He turns from his desk, and his eyes lock on Alara. She is on the floor, her body curved around Lily, shielding the terrified child from the flashing lights and the terrifying sounds. Lily is trembling. a silent scream trapped in her throat, her eyes wide with the remembered trauma. Elara is whispering to her, her voice shaking but steady. It is okay. It is just a storm. I am here. I will not let anything happen to you. In that moment, Damien's cold facade shatters. This is not about business. This is not about territory. They have brought their filth into his home. They are threatening his sister. They are threatening her. The fear he feels is a white-hot, blinding panic. The thought of losing her is a physical agony, a tearing in his chest. The doors to the main elevator burst open, not with a ding, but with the shriek of tortured metal. 3 men in tactical gear spill out, armed with automatic weapons. "Blackwood!" the leader shouts, his eyes wild. "Your reign is over!" Damien does not hesitate. He moves from his office, a blur of deadly grace. A pistol appears in his hand as if by magic. The first shot is a deafening crack. The leader's shout is cut short as he crumples to the floor. The other 2 open fire, spraying bullets that chew through the marble and expensive furniture. Damien uses a stone column for cover, returning fire with methodical precision. Another man falls. The third man, seeing his odds, changes tactics. He sprints, not for Damien, but for the 2 girls huddled on the floor. For the hostages. "No!" Damien roars, a sound of pure primal fury. He is pinned. He cannot get a clear shot without risking hitting them. Elara sees the man coming. She sees the gun. She sees the predatory grin on his face as he reaches for Lily. Time slows down. Her terror is a physical thing, a cold weight in her stomach. But beneath the terror is the fire, the same fire that made her stand up to Isabella Sterling. She will not let him touch this child. She shoves Lily behind her, a mother lion protecting her cub. She scrambles to her feet. She is a waitress, a cleaner, a nobody. She has no weapons, no training, but she has ingenuity. And she has rage. Her eyes land on a heavy, decorative fire extinguisher mounted on the wall. With a scream of defiance, she rips it from its mount. It is heavier than she expected. The gunman is almost upon her. He reaches for her, laughing. Elara swings the heavy metal canister with all her might. It connects with the side of his head with a sickening crunch. The man staggers, his eyes wide with shock, his gun wavering. It is the opening Damien needed. A single shot. The man drops like a stone, falling inches from Elara's feet. Silence. Deafening, ringing silence, broken only by the wail of distant sirens and the ragged sound of their breathing. The room is a war zone. Smoke hangs in the air, smelling of gunpowder and despair. Bodies lie on the pristine marble floor. Elara stands frozen, the heavy extinguisher still clutched in her hands, her knuckles white. She is shaking so violently she can barely stand. Damien moves toward her, his gun still raised, his eyes scanning the shadows. He kicks the weapons away from the fallen men, his movements economical and brutal. Then he looks at her. He sees her standing there, so small and so fierce, surrounded by the carnage he brought into her life. He sees the blood on the floor near her bare feet. The last of his control evaporates. He closes the distance between them in 2 long strides. He rips the fire extinguisher from her hands and throws it aside. It clatters across the floor. He grabs her by the arms, his grip bruising. He pulls her against him, his body a wall of solid muscle. "I thought I lost you," he rasps, his voice raw, unrecognizable. He buries his face in her hair, inhaling her scent as if it were air, and he had been drowning. Elara is limp in his arms, the adrenaline starting to fade, leaving a terrifying emptiness in its wake. He pulls back, his hands framing her face, his thumbs stroking her cheeks. His stormy eyes are wild with a terrifying cocktail of emotions. Fear, rage, and something else. Something that looks like worship. "I thought they had you," he whispers. And then he kisses her. It is not a gentle kiss. It is a desperate, possessive act, a brand, a claim. It is the kiss of a man who has lived in a frozen wasteland and has just found his first and only source of warmth. It is hungry and brutal and full of the terror of the last few minutes. Ilara gasps into his mouth, her hands coming up to clutch at his shirt. She should be scared. She should push him away. But she is not. She kisses him back. She meets his desperation with her own, her fear, her defiance, her strange and terrifying feelings for this impossible man, all pour into the kiss. It is a confession without words, a collision of two worlds in the wreckage of a battlefield. He breaks the kiss, his forehead resting against hers. They are both breathing heavily, their chests rising and falling in unison. "You are mine," he says. The words a vow, a promise, a threat. "Do you understand me? You are mine. I will burn this city to the ground if anyone ever touches you again." Before Ilara can answer, Marcus appears in the ruined doorway, his face grim, a cut bleeding over his eye. "The perimeter is secure," he says, his voice a low rumble. "We have casualties, but the building is ours." Damien does not take his eyes off Ilara. "And the traitor?" "Julian Vargo," Marcus says, his voice laced with contempt. "He was directing them from a command van downstairs. He escaped before we could get to him." Damien's jaw tightens. The softness in his eyes hardens back into glacial ice. "He will not be free for long," Damien says, a quiet promise of biblical retribution. He looks back at Ilara. He sees the blood spatter on her simple pajamas, the shock still lingering in her eyes. "The contract is void," he says, his voice firm. Ilara looks at him, confused. "What?" "Our arrangement. It is over. You are not my employee. You are not a caretaker." He cups her face, his gaze softening once more. "You are the queen of this castle. You are my partner. You are everything." He elevates her from a possession to a purpose. He glances over at Lily, who is now being comforted by Maria. The little girl is watching them, her eyes wide, no longer with terror, but with a dawning curiosity. He turns to Marcus. "Fine, Julian. I do not care what it costs or who you have to burn. Find him." Marcus nods. "And the evidence?" Damien's gaze falls on the phone of the dead gunman nearest to Ilara. A text message is still illuminated on the screen. Target the girls, the sister and the maid. They are his only weakness. The message is from a number Damien recognizes. Julian's private number. "We have everything we need," Damien says, his voice a low growl. The purge begins. It is not a war. It is an extermination. Damien Blackwood, the architect of ruin, unleashes the full, terrifying extent of his power. He is no longer a king defending his throne. He is a monster avenging his heart. The Vargo family is the first to burn. Damien does not just cripple them, he erases them. Their businesses, built on extortion and human misery, are dismantled in a single night of digital warfare and physical violence. Their safe houses are not safe. Their allies turn on them, bought or terrified into submission by the sheer ferocity of Damien's retribution. He moves through the city's underworld like a plague, leaving a trail of broken men and shattered empires. He is cold. He is methodical. He is utterly without mercy. Ilara sees none of this. Damien shields her from it completely. In the days following the attack, the penthouse is repaired with silent, terrifying efficiency. The blood is scrubbed from the marble. The broken furniture is replaced. Soon, it is as if the violence never happened. But something has irrevocably changed. The air in the penthouse is no longer cold and sterile. Damien is there. He no longer sequesters himself in his office. He takes his meals with her. He sits with her and Lily, watching them with an expression of quiet awe. He talks to her. He asks her about her day. He listens. He's learning how to be human again. And Alara, in turn, is learning not to be afraid. She sees the monster. She knows what he is capable of. But she also sees the man who held her after the attack. The man who looks at his sister with a world of pain and love in his eyes. The man who looks at her as if she holds the sun in her hands. The final piece of his bloody work comes a week later. Marcus finds Julian. He is hiding in a decrepit warehouse by the docks, a rat in a cage of his own making. Damien goes alone. He finds his cousin surrounded by a few pathetic, terrified bodyguards. They drop their weapons the moment they see Damien's face. Julian is a wreck. His expensive suit is stained, his face pale with a week of terror. Damien, he stammers, trying to project a confidence he does not feel. We can talk about this. I was wrong. I was jealous. The Vargos promised me everything. Damien stops a few feet from him. He is wearing another perfect suit, not a speck of dust on his polished shoes. He looks like a god of vengeance descending upon a mortal. You pointed a gun at my sister, Damien says, his voice quiet, conversational. It is more terrifying than any shout. You targeted the woman I love. The words hang in the air. The first time he has said them aloud. The first time he has fully admitted them to himself. Julian's eyes widen. He finally understands. This is not about business. You did not just try to take my kingdom, Julian, Damien continues, taking a slow step forward. You tried to take my world. He stops directly in front of his cousin. A small piece of advice for the future, Damien says, a sliver of that cold, dark wit surfacing. When you try to kill the king, he does not finish the sentence with words. The sound is a single, muffled report. Damien turns and walks out of the warehouse without a backward glance, leaving Marcus to clean up the last remnant of the threat. The purge is over. A time jump. 6 months pass. 6 months of quiet, of healing. The city holds its breath. The underworld is cowed into a terrified silence. The name Blackwood is spoken only in whispers, a synonym for absolute, untouchable power. But in the penthouse high above it all, a different kind of power is growing. The power of a family being forged in the crucible of trauma and love. Lily speaks. It starts with a single word. She, Alara and Damien are sitting on the floor. Lily showing Damien the tower she and Alara have built. Damien, the man who terrifies gangsters and politicians, is clumsy with the blocks, his large hands unused to such delicate things. He accidentally knocks the tower over. Lily looks at the scattered blocks. She looks at Damien's apologetic face, and she laughs. A real, clear, beautiful laugh. Then she looks at Alara, a radiant smile on her face. Again, she says, the word is a miracle. Damien freezes, his eyes locking with Alara's over Lily's head. He sees the same stunned, tear-filled joy in her eyes that he feels in his own chest. From that day forward, the silence is broken. Lily's words come in a trickle, then a flood. She has 7 years of silence to make up for. Alara's brother, Leo, is in remission. The treatment was a success. He is healthy, strong, and enrolled in a private school near the facility. His future bright and limitless. Alara speaks to him every day on video calls, her heart bursting with a gratitude so profound it feels like a permanent part of her. And Alara herself has transformed. The fear is gone. The invisibility is gone. She is no longer a servant in a palace. She is its heart. She walks through the vast rooms not as a prisoner, but as a mistress. The staff, who once looked at her with suspicion, now treat her with a deep, genuine respect. She has not lost her soul. She has found its strength. The final transformation requires a return to the beginning. The Grand Majestic is holding its annual charity gala once more. "We have to go," Damien says. It is not a question. "I know," Elara replies. This time, she will not enter through the service entrance. When the night arrives, Elara stands before the mirror in her bedroom. She is wearing a gown the color of a midnight sky, a simple, elegant dress that whispers of wealth instead of shouting it. Diamonds glitter at her throat, a gift from Damien. Her hair is styled, her makeup flawless. She looks like a queen. She feels like one. Damien enters the room and stops. He is wearing a black tuxedo, the physical embodiment of power and danger. But the look in his eyes is not that of a king surveying his property. It is the look of a man completely and utterly in love. "You are beautiful," he says, his voice thick with emotion. "You clean up pretty well yourself," she replies, a playful smile on her lips. The easy banter between them is a testament to how far they have come. He holds out his arm. "Shall we?" She takes it. They arrive at the gala, and a hush falls over the crowd. They are no longer Damien Blackwood and some mysterious girl. They are a power couple, a unit. He, the Dark King, his power undisputed. She, the serene queen at his side, radiating a quiet confidence that is more intimidating than any weapon. They move through the ballroom, a sea of whispers and fearful glances parting before them. Elara sees the faces of the people who once looked through her. Now they cannot look away. They take a table in the center of the room, not hidden in the shadows. A young waitress approaches, her hands trembling so badly the glasses on her tray rattle. She is young, terrified, and overwhelmed. She reminds Elara of herself. As the waitress leans in to pour their water, her shaking hand causes a few drops to spill on the tablecloth. She freezes, her face pale with terror, her eyes darting to Damien, expecting an explosion. Before Damien can even react, Elara reaches out and places a gentle hand on the young woman's arm. "It is all right," Elara says, her voice kind and calm. "We all have nights like this." She gives the girl a warm, reassuring smile. "Take a deep breath. You are doing fine." The waitress looks at her, tears of gratitude welling in her eyes. She nods, steadies herself, and finishes pouring the water with a newfound composure. Damien watches the exchange, and the love he feels for Elara is so immense it threatens to suffocate him. She has been given absolute power, and her first instinct is to use it to show kindness. She did not just save his soul, she has fortified her own. Later that night, they stand on the balcony, overlooking the city. The same city that once seemed so daunting and cruel to her. "Do you ever miss it?" he asks quietly. "Your old life?" Elara thinks for a moment. She thinks of the crushing debt, the constant fear, the exhaustion. "I miss my brother," she says honestly. "But he will be home soon. As for the rest..." "No." She turns to him, her hand finding his. "My old life was about surviving. This is about living." He pulls her close, his arm wrapping around her waist. "I was just surviving too," he confesses. "Before you." He was a king in a frozen castle, ruling over a kingdom of ghosts. Now he is just a man who has found his home. The story ends not in a grand ballroom, but in a quiet, sunlit room. A few weeks later, Damien is on the floor. The feared architect of ruin, a man who can command death with a text message, is on his hands and knees. He is playing with blocks. Lily is directing him with the cheerful tyranny of a happy child. No, dummy. The blue one goes on top. He dutifully moves the blue block. Elara is curled up on a nearby sofa, a book in her lap, watching them. She is wearing a simple sweater and jeans, her feet tucked under her. This is their new reality, this quiet, domestic peace. It is a peace bought with blood and forged in fire, but it is peace nonetheless. Damien looks up and catches her eye. He smiles, a real, genuine smile that reaches his stormy eyes and transforms his entire face. The monster is gone. Or perhaps he was never a monster at all. Perhaps he was just a man waiting for someone to show him the way out of the dark. The king has found his queen. The fortress has become a home, and the architect of ruin has finally built something that will last. Something beautiful, something worth protecting. He built a family. What does it take to save a monster? Not a weapon, not a cage. It takes a heart brave enough to see the man inside, and a love strong enough to lead him into the light.